All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining me. We'll go ahead and get started here. If you got questions, go ahead and post them. Either you'll be to the right of the video or it will be below the video where you can post your questions. And we'll go ahead and get started. So Rob C says, greetings. Can you offer any drills for chipping yips? Yes, I would actually recommend search the word yips on the website. You'll find lots of drills for the chipping yips. In the upper right-hand corner of the screen, you'll see a search window there. Search the word yips. And then also, if you're on a mobile device, click the little horizontal, 3 horizontal lines icon. Kind of looks like Adidas logo. Click on that. That'll expand a menu. Then if you scroll to the bottom of that menu, you'll see a place where you can search. Just search the word yips and you'll find chipping yips. There's also putting yips drills video. But typically when I see chipping yips, it's just due to poor setup and just it's kind of a mental thing because you just feel like already you're going to top it or chunk it or blade it or thin it or whatever. So typically if you just set up correctly and then hit some solid chips, that gets rid of the chipping yips. So that's what I'd recommend. If you want to learn how to set up correctly, well, real quickly, just as far as chipping is concerned, the biggest issues that I see with people who set up incorrectly is that they just have the ball too far back in their stance. So let me angle this down a little bit. So when we're chipping, we want the ball roughly about the middle of our stance to maybe slightly back of middle. So you can see my feet here. So that's going to be about right there from the perspective, right? So my feet are close together. Right. So when I'm chipping, that's going to be about the middle of my stance. If you were to take the club like this and just kind of naturally bottom out wherever feels the most natural for you. So you can see there, I don't know if you can see the carpet kind of changing, but basically I'm bottoming out somewhere between here and here every single time. So I'm going to put my golf ball right in the middle of that. And you can see that's basically right in the middle of my stance. Right. So if I have this ball back here, which I see oftentimes, I see people playing this often. I even see people where it's like this, like way back in the stance. So when I do that, I'm really chopping down into the golf ball. I'm really chopping down into the ball. So basically, now you can hit great chips doing that. The problem is that I don't have a lot of margin for error. I've really got to time this down very perfectly. I really need to take a confident stroke when I do that as well. So if I'm playing around and I do one like that where I top it, that was kind of cool. And I do one where I come down and I chunk it and I do one of those, I'm not going to be very confident anymore, am I? So I'm going to end up kind of getting the yips and I'm going to be doing some of these and trying to kind of guide it and things like that. So you want to get this in the middle, more in the middle of your stance so that the club can come in nice and shallow. Because if I do that, I can actually hit an inch behind the golf ball, and it's still going to be a fine shot. I can blade it a little bit even. Because I'm coming in so shallow, I can even go where I don't even hit the ground at all, and it's still going to be a pretty good shot. So put that ball more in the middle of your stance. That's the biggest reason I'd say why people have the chipping yips is because they just play the ball too far back in their stance. They don't give themselves any margin for error. And you end up, you hit a few bad shots and all of a sudden your confidence is gone and here come the yips. So that's what I'd recommend doing. And that's what Clay talks about. I think Robin may even have a video. I can't remember. I know he's got a yips video. I can't remember if it was a putting yips, but it's kind of the same thing with the putting. It's just a matter of you hit some bad shots, you lose some confidence. You just need to get your technique in order a little bit better. All right. Go to the next video. So Mark C says, since wedges have so much loft, I don't see how you can hit the center of the club face. Seems the handle would have to be excessive amount forward. What am I missing? That is a great point, actually. You're not missing anything. You're not going to be able to hit if you have a lie where the ball is sitting, if it's kind of a tight lie, you're typically not going to be able to hit way up here on the club face. So if you look here to kind of go into what Mark is talking about, if you look here, if I have no forward shaft lean, look where the contact point is on that face. Now, if I have more forward shaft lean, that contact point's going to go higher, but that's basically an impossible amount of forward shaft lean that I have right here. That's probably more of what you're going to see, but still look at where that contact point is on the face. Now that is if it's a very, very tight lie. Now, if the ball is sitting up on a piece of grass, I can actually kind of, like it's up on a tee, I can actually get under this and get the ball higher on the face. But it's okay. You don't necessarily, on wedge shots, you don't necessarily want to hit it in the center of the club face. You do want to hit it in the center horizontally, but vertically, you don't necessarily want to, because if you hit it lower on the face, one, it's going to drive the ball a little bit lower. So that's typically better because it's easier to control when you hit it lower. And the reason why it does that is that when you hit it lower on the face, what happens if you hit it below the center of the face, what happens is the face will actually twist down a little bit, and that de-lofts the face. Now, the other thing that it does is something called gear effect, and it's called vertical gear effect. And this is throughout the face. We'll talk about horizontal gear effect here in a second. But vertical gear effect is where if you don't hit the ball in the center of the face, it's generally just going to roll when it compresses on the face. The easiest way to think about it is that when it compresses on the face, so when it's pancaking on the face, essentially, it's going to roll toward the center of the club face. So if I hit it low on the face, it's going to want to roll toward the center of the club face. What is that doing when it rolls toward the center of the club face? That ball is rolling up, so that's actually going to add spin. So what are two things that all great wedge players do, basically, is they hit low, really spinny shots. Hitting it lower on the club face does that. Go out and experiment with it. If you ever notice, you probably spin the ball like crazy when you hit off of a mat, because you're almost always hitting it low on the face when you're hitting it off of a mat. But when you hit it off of grass, sometimes it'll sit up on the grass a little bit, especially if you're on like a fluffy lie or if you're in the rough, and it won't spin as much. And also because also the reason why you would spin it like crazy off of mat, because there's no moisture or grass getting between the face and the ball. That's also a big part of it. And when you hit off of grass, obviously there's moisture, and then the grass will break off and get in between the face and the ball and will cause the ball to slip on the face a little bit and not spin as much. But a big part of it as well is hitting it low on the face when you do that. So if you're ever trying to get really, really spinny shots, you want to hit it really, really low on the face. That's why oftentimes you see tour players, they don't even take a divot sometimes when they're hitting their wedges, especially if it's like a pitch shot. A lot of times you'll see, if it's a full swing shot, you'll definitely see divots. But if it's like a little pitch shot, a lot of times you'll see they won't even take a divot at all, and that's because they're intentionally trying to hit the ball thin to get a little bit more spin on it, and also to drive the ball a little bit lower. The higher if you get it high on the face, let's say you get it above the center, you have a big fluffy, maybe you're in the rough and the ball is just sitting up on the grass. If you hit that ball high on the face, which you can in that situation, because the ball is like sitting up like it's on a tee, like you would tee up your driver almost. It's sitting up like that, and if you hit it high on the face, the ball will actually go higher because the face will twist up when you do that. Now, to go back to what I was talking about gear effect, there's also horizontal gear effect, which will make the ball, if you hit it out on the toe, the face will twist open a little bit, and then the ball will kind of roll toward the center, which puts draw spin on it. If you hit it on the heel, the face will twist close a little bit. It'll roll toward the center, and it'll put kind of fade spin on it. So you can actually hit a ball with a draw swing, hit it off the heel, and the ball will go straight. Just like you can hit the ball with a slice swing, hit it off the toe, and the ball will go straight. So it'll kind of give you this false illusion that you've hit a great shot if you don't have a real good feel of where you're hitting it on the club face. When the reality is that you've got issues going on. So something to keep in mind. But yeah, you're exactly right. It's going to be tough to get that right in the center of the face, but you don't always want to do that. If you want to hit low spinny wedges, you want to hit it on these bottom few grooves right here to really get that ball to bite as much as possible, and also so that you're not taking as much grass as much as possible. So that you can, because if you hit it higher on the face, you're typically going to need to hit the ground a little bit before the golf ball, And when you do that, there's going to get moisture and dirt and debris on the face, and that's going to get between the face and the ball, and you're not going to be able to spin it as much. So low spinny wedges hit those really thin shots. If you want some great videos on how to do that, I'd recommend checking out our short game vault. There's lots of spinny wedge videos in there that you can check out where Clay talks about these exact same things. So if you want to get to the short game vault, all you got to do is click the instruction tab, then click vault categories, and then scroll through the vault categories. I believe it's in alphabetical order. I think it's just short game vault is what it's called. Actually, let me check on that for you because I'm not 100% sure. I want to make sure I'm giving you the right info here. All right, so instruction tab and vault categories. Then if I scroll down, let me scroll down to short. Yep, it's short game and putting. So I'm going to click on that, and I'll just tell you there's a bunch of videos in here. So if I scroll to the bottom, if you go toward the bottom, that's going to be the newest videos. They're in chronological order. So if you want to see some newer videos, so let's see here. That's not going to be a spinny one. So SH056 is probably the most recent spinny wedge video. Go check that one out. It's how to hit golf wedge shots with backspins, what the video is called. Let's see here. What else we got? Master the 60-yard shot. That's also a good one. Stop duffing chips for someone who was asking earlier. That's also a good one for spinning wedges as well. Let's see here. Not that one. Yeah, so there's a bunch of them in here. How to spin your wedge shots, 2 tips from Pro Research. That's one from a couple years ago. SH036, that's also a really good one. That's with Dr. Neal, Robert Neal. If you're not familiar with him, he's really into the he's got a lot of great stuff on wedges. If you want to check him out, just do a Google search on him. A lot of cool stuff in there. But anyway, SH030 is also another really good one, talking about backspin wedges. So we have a ton of videos on this if you want to go check it out. All right, so let's go to the next question here. So Ron D says, can you show the position of the lead foot from start to finish during the downswing? With direction are you pushing, and does the weight shift to the lead foot start the downswing? Thanks. So let me read that again. Can you show the position of the lead foot from start to finish during the downswing? Which direction are you pushing, and does the weight shift to the lead foot at the start of the downswing? All right, great questions there. So let me angle this down a little bit to where I was before. So if I angle this down. All right, so the position of the lead foot, where I put my lead foot at address, is I need to angle my lead foot out a little bit. I know my head's cut off, so but I'm doing this so that you can see my feet. So I like to angle my lead foot out. The reasoning is because I have internal rotation issues. I can't internally rotate my foot very much. If you watch here, it's actually kind of pathetic. You can see how much I can internally rotate my foot, maybe 20 degrees, something like that. So when you are going in the downswing into impact, your hip is internally rotating. So if I were to keep my feet like this, I might look really good, like Rory McIlroy here at address. It might look very aesthetically pleasing. And if you're someone who likes square lines and things like that, like I do, it looks great. But it's not very functional for my golf swing. So I need to angle my feet out like that. That's how that's what I do, because in the backswing you're internally rotating as well. So if I keep my foot angled in, or even imagine if I was like pigeon-toed like this, like I wouldn't be able to rotate my hips at all. I can't hardly rotate at all. So if I'm like this, I can't rotate very much. I can maybe rotate a little bit, 20 or so degrees in each direction, but not very much. So like I said, I need to angle this out so I can get a full hip turn in the backswing and then get my hips coming around and opening up in the downswing. So I angle my foot out. If you are very flexible and you can rotate your foot in a lot like that, like 45 degrees, then you may not need to do that. But if you're someone who's not flexible, highly recommend opening both of these feet, flaring the feet out. You can do it as much as 45 degrees. If you do more than that, you may get a little bit off balance. I do mine about 30 degrees. That's about 30 degrees angled open like that. So that's how I address. As I go up to the top of the swing, my foot pretty much stays put. Now, as I'm loading up, sometimes with the driver, I'll get my heel off the ground a little bit. That helps free up my hips a little bit more so I can get a bigger shoulder turn. But it's not something you have to do. But if you're someone who's struggling with distance and looking to get more club head speed, then that's what you may want to do, is to get that heel coming off the ground a little bit, because that helps me free up my hips. If I keep that heel on the ground, it may act as an anchor for my hips. You know, I won't be able to turn my hip as much. But if I get that heel coming off the ground, then I can turn my hips a little bit more. This is something that we talk about in the 20-minute distance fix. Now, as far as the weight shift and when that is starting, that's actually starting before you reach the top of the backswing. Do not confuse pressure shift with weight shift. They are two different things. So the easiest way to kind of think about this is, if I'm walking, all of us know how to walk, or I think so anyway. If I'm walking, right, my pressure that I'm putting into the ground is going back that way in my trail foot, right? But my momentum, my weight, is moving that way. It's the same thing that's happening in your golf swing. As you're going up to the top of the swing, my pressure is loading up into that trail foot. But in the last part of the backswing, my weight is going to be shifting that way, right? So that's really what's going on. The last part of the backswing, my weight is shifting that way. If you want to see this in real time, in a reality kind of situation, what I'd recommend doing is go to YouTube and search your favorite tour player. Look at them from face on, and what you're going to see as they reach that last part of the backswing, you're going to see their hips start to move that way. Just a little. It's not a lot. It's not 6 inches or anything like that, but you're going to see their hips starting to move that way. And the very, very last, they won't be reaching the top yet, but you'll see they're starting to move forward. So they're still loading up in their trail foot, but they're getting their momentum moving that way. And then in the downswing, now we got pressure in that lead foot, and they're using that pressure to rotate the body open. So that weight shift, yes. The weight shift is not starting at the start of the downswing. The weight shift is starting at the last part of the backswing. The pressure in your foot, where you're getting a significant amount of pressure in the lead foot, that's happening in the start of the downswing. That's when that's happening. So hopefully that makes sense. But if you're wanting to work on that, there's actually a great video that Clay came out recently. It's called "How to Start the Downswing," I believe, or starting the downswing correctly, or something like that. If you go to the home page, if you click the house icon, click the home page there, and then on the left-hand side of the page, you'll see latest videos. Click on to see more latest videos. And it's from last month or so is when the video came out. It's talking about starting the downswing correctly. If you want to check out that video, it's a great video to help you to get this weight shift down correctly. So now let's talk about how the foot is being used and what I'm kind of feeling in my feet in the start of the downswing here. So if we angle this down again, in the start of the downswing, I'm going to feel some pressure in the balls of my feet. In the very, very start of the downswing, I'm going to be feeling pressure in the balls of my feet. It can also be in the heel or in the arch of the foot. Basically, I'm just getting pressure in my foot. But what they found with most tour players, it's going to be mostly in the balls of the feet at the very beginning, and then it's moving toward the heel as they're coming down into impact. So as I'm coming down into impact, I'm feeling that more in the heel of my foot. In the direction where I'm pushing, if you're right-handed golfer, if you imagine this is 12 o'clock on the clock, right? This is going to be 10:30 on the clock. I'm pushing down and then out into the ground away from me toward 10:30 on the clock. So basically the feeling is that with my lead foot is that I'm pushing out that way. That's the feeling that I'm having toward 10:30. So that's rotating my hip back and out of the way as I'm coming into contact. so that I can come into contact in a great impact position like this. So that's what I'm feeling. Now, as I'm coming through contact, my foot may start to roll out a little bit. Again, this is depending on your flexibility. And I would challenge you, go to YouTube and look at your favorite tour player. What you're going to see is all kinds of things with the lead foot. You're going to see, if you go to Jordan Spieth, you're going to see his ankle is like this as he's coming into contact. That hurts my ankle just doing that right there. I don't recommend it, but hey, that's what he does and it works for him. Basically what you see with most people, because you're driving into that ankle, the front of the foot is coming up a little bit and it's going to be opening up. So for me, when I'm coming in, I'm driving that ankle. My foot comes up a little bit like that as I'm coming through, and it kind of opens up as I'm coming through. So if you look at like a Gary Woodland, that's basically how my footwork is very, very similar to his is that my foot's like coming open. My heel, my foot kind of comes up. Some people, it will kind of just slide. It will come up a little bit, but it'll be kind of sliding. Some people, it won't open up as much. It really depends on your flexibility. But typically what you're going to see is that lead foot is opening up as they're coming through. Because remember, we are internally rotating as we are coming through. And if we are limited in our flexibility, something's got to give. So this foot has got to move in order for me to come all the way around into a full finish. Otherwise, my swing is stopping right here. I'm not coming all the way around. I'm not going to be able to get my hips pointed toward the target, my chest pointing left of the target. So that's basically what's going on there. So hopefully that helps. No, that's a lot of information there to take in, but that's basically what's happening with the lead foot as you're coming into impact. All right, so let's go to the next question here. If you got your questions, go ahead and post them. Looks like we just have one more question here right now. So if you got your questions, go ahead and post them. And we'll get them answered. All right, so Rick F says, good afternoon. I've had a lifetime of swinging the club with bent arms on the downswing. How do I straighten them? I wouldn't. It depends on why they're bent. Okay, so if you have bent arms in the downswing, it may not necessarily be a bad thing, but there are some reasons why you might have bent arms in the downswing. So there's a difference between a good chicken wing and a bad chicken wing. A good chicken wing would be like one like Angel Cabrera, Lee Westwood, Jordan Spieth, Brooks Koepka, Jamie Sadlowski. I mean, these guys are all long hitters. Well, I guess Jordan Spieth really isn't, but they're great golfers. Basically, all of those guys. If you're not familiar with who Jamie Sadlowski is, he used to be a long drive guy. I think he's trying to make it on tour right now, but just pounds the ball. He won long drive contest a couple times, and I think he weighs like 180 pounds compared to most of them guys weigh 250 plus. So really kind of a big deal there. Bent arm as you're coming into contact. So really it's completely fine as long as you're nailing the 5 pieces of the Top Speed Golf system. So if you're coming into contact, you're coming in, you have great lag, right? You're coming into contact and you look something like this. You have great forward shaftling here. This is like Brooks Koepka's impact right here. Bent lead arm. And then you look at your straight line release. That's like Lee Westwood, Brooks Koepka, Jordan Spieth. This is basically what their release looks like. And then you come all the way around. If it looks like that, I wouldn't worry about it one bit. Not one. That's what you do. That's completely fine. And a lot of times people have that bent lead arm because they're trying to keep that club face square as they're coming through contact. Because if you bend it, then your arm won't rotate. It won't rotate under, right, as much. Where you're basically going to have more of a square release of the club versus more of a rolled over release of the club. Either one is fine. It's just that you're going to have the club face square a little bit more. So maybe actually to your advantage a little bit to be able to do it like that. Now, it may not be as fast as someone who has a rolled through finish, like a Rory McIlroy, but you may be able to keep the ball a little bit square more. Now, here's what a bad chicken wing looks like. Where you're coming into contact, you have an early release. So you're releasing this club early, and it looks like that. I'm exaggerating. Yours might look kind of more like that as you're coming through. But that would be a bad chicken wing where you have that bent lead arm. That is a product of your arms out racing your lower body. That's what that is a product of. So you're coming in, if you're coming into contact, you have no lower body rotation at all, and you're just throwing your arms at the golf ball. That's a bad chicken wing. And that means that you need to work on, there's several things that you may need to work on. You may need to work on lag. You may need to work on the release of the club. You may need to work on your hip rotation coming through contact. So that's going to be your compression line. That's going to be your, as well as your straight line release, as well as, I mean, there's all, basically the Top Speed Golf system is going to be a lot of the things that you need to work on. So you need to look at which piece is actually the piece that's the issue, and then evaluate that, and then work on, if you're casting the club, I'd work on some lag. If you're actually getting some lag, but you're just not rotating your hips, I would work on maybe shallowing out the club, squaring up the club properly. That's going to be the move. It could be the straight line release. You need to work on getting the body opened up to get the straight line release. It's hard to say without seeing your swing, Rick, but that's what I'd be looking at. Basically, you need to get your hips out rotating and out in front of your body. Keep your belt buckle, basically try and keep your belt buckle in front of your hands, pointing in front of your hands. So if you imagine there's a laser coming out of my belt buckle here, I'm trying to keep that in front of my hands for as long as I can. If I'm coming into contact and I'm not rotating and I'm doing this action, then my belt buckle is right here. My arms are passing in front. I need to feel like I'm getting that belt buckle. I'm keeping that as I'm coming into impact ahead of my hands here. So that's why I'd be looking at those pieces. Now, if you want help with that, we do offer Element swing reviews. I actually do have some spots open right now. We just opened up some spots. And I know that you may be somewhere where you can't hit balls, or the driving ranges aren't open. But if you have a mat where you can swing your club indoors, you have a piece of carpet and you can hit a little piece of paper, we can do swing reviews. So that's what I would recommend doing. Highly recommend that. So if you have any questions or anything about swing reviews or doing any of that indoors, I'll be happy to help. I do have some spots open right now. If you want to go and check that out, just click get a review at the top of the page, and you can check that out. Real quickly, I can show you. I actually have one of Brooks Koepka's swings on my iPad here, and I can kind of show you what I'm talking about when I talk about a good bent lead arm. So let me get him to. All right, so let me zoom out. All right, so not sure if you'll be able to see this very well. And you can't really see it the best, can you? Well, hopefully you can see it a little bit. So you can see as he's coming into contact here, see how his lead arm is bent as he's coming through there? Let's actually go backwards here. See his lead arm there? That's bent. That's a good chicken wing right there. Nothing wrong with that. See how he's releasing that club out in front? That's the good chicken wing. If you're, see how his hips are opened up and he's releasing that club out in front? If you're releasing it early and your body isn't really opening up, then that's probably going to be the issues. All right. So Lee P says, during a normal greenside sand shot, should the club face always be open to the sky? If so, what creates the forward motion? What creates the forward motion? Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. All right. So, yes, if you're hitting it out of a greenside bunker shot, you need to have the face open. That's one of the big keys that I see with people who struggle out of bunkers or that just don't hit the ball out of the bunker very well, so that they don't open up the face enough. So you need to have that club face about 45 degrees open. So that would be square, right? And watch what I do. I'm not changing. I'm not doing this with my hands to open the face. I'm actually turning that grip in my hand to where it's 45 degrees open. Now it's going to be pointing mostly up to the sky. It's not going to be exactly to the sky, but it's pretty much to the sky there. Now, what you're doing out of the sand is, when you're hitting a bunker shot, you're hitting the sand, and then the sand is propelling the ball out of the bunker. So that's what's creating the forward motion. Is you're coming down, you're thumping the sand, and the club face is not, or it shouldn't really come in direct contact with the golf ball. You're going to have sand between your golf ball and the club face. It's the sand that's going to propel the ball out of there. Because you are swinging the club forward, the sand is going to move forward. The reason why you open the face is so that your club can glide through the sand. So, and slide underneath the sand, or slide under the ball where the sand is, and slide and propel it out. If you don't open up the face, then this club is going to dig down into the sand, and you're not going to be able to slide the club. It's just going to get lost in the sand, and you may propel the ball forward a little bit, but you're most likely going to end up staying in the bunker. So if you imagine this leading edge here, like imagine a water skier, right? So a water skier, you're going to see that nose of the ski is going to be up in the air as it's gliding along the water. So if you dig that toe down or dig that nose down, what is that ski going to do? It's going to dive down into the water. So that's the same thing that's happening out of a bunker shot. If I have this leading edge hitting the sand first, it's going to want to dive into that water. Whereas if I open the face, it's going to glide through the sand, just like the water ski is gliding on top of the water. That's what we want to do. We want this to kind of glide through the sand. We want it to go down, get underneath the golf ball, and then get the golf ball to come out, and then come out of the sand. If we have to dig down into the sand, then it's going to get lost in there, and it's not going to be able to get the ball out. So yeah, you want to have the club face open as much as you can. Or about 45 degrees. Now, if you're in harder sand, I get this all the time. People ask, how do I hit, all your videos? You must play at a really nice golf course, because we don't have sand at our golf course. Trust me, I play mostly at public courses, and they don't all have great sand. So yes, there are some modifications that you have to make when hitting out of harder sand. But it's mostly the same technique. So instead of opening up this face 45 degrees, I'm still opening up the face, but I might open up the face 30 degrees instead. And what that's going to do, because the sand is so hard, if I use that 45 degree open face, I'm going to expose too much bounce. And what may happen is my club may actually come down and bounce off of the sand. So in order to get that club to dig just a little bit into the sand, I'll open up the face a little bit less. The other thing that I'll do is, instead of hitting 4 to 6 inches behind the golf ball like I would out of nice, normal, kind of fluffy type sand, instead of hitting 4 to 6 inches behind the ball, I'll hit about 2 to 3 inches behind the golf ball for harder sand. Now, not all hard sand is created equal. There's going to be some where you've got to hit a little bit closer to the golf ball and open up the face a little bit less. There's going to be some where you don't really have to make much of a difference at all. You just got to hit a little bit closer to the golf ball, where you got to just open up the face very, very slightly less. It's not all created equal. So you have to practice it and get a feel for it. But once you do that, sand game's pretty easy. And understand you're not going to get up and down as frequently as you do out of normal positions. But sometimes going in the sand is a better position to be in, because a lot of times in sand you can get a little bit of spin on the ball. It's a little bit harder to control, but you can at least stop it and have a better chance of getting closer to the hole. Whereas if you're hitting out of grass from the same position, you may not be able to get it as close. So a lot of times I actually prefer to be in sand in some areas because it's actually an easier shot. All right, so Rick F says, some days my driver swing is 86 to 90 miles per hour. On others, I am faster. How can I swing faster and still in control? What I would recommend doing is getting more comfortable with swinging faster. The best way to do that, to be consistently get your speed up, is to go through our 20-minute distance fix program. It's a 3-week program where we get your club head speed up. And what you're doing in that program is you are basically working on the 3 factors that we found that has helped you to raise your club head speed the most. So one is going to be your range of motion. So maybe on some days when you're swinging faster, you're looser and you get a bigger shoulder turn. And maybe some days you're not as loose, or maybe it's colder outside and your muscles aren't as loose and you don't swing as fast because you're not getting as big a range of motion. So what I mean by range of motion, what I mean is basically creating as much space and time as you can to accelerate that club. We want the more space and time that you have to accelerate the club, the more club head speed you can generate. So that might be what's going on a little bit there. Is that some days maybe your range of motion is better. I know as we get older, we get stiffer. Some days we walk out of the car and onto the tee box, and other days we go to the range and we hit half a bucket of balls and then go play. We're probably going to be a little bit more loose on those days. So it really just depends on what's going on. But I would imagine that's probably very similar to what's going on. It could be a confidence issue. Maybe you don't trust your swing on certain days, and you kind of ease off it and try to guide the ball, and you're not going to swing as fast when you do that. So what I'd recommend doing is working through our 20-minute distance fix, work on getting that range of motion so that you're aware of it, so that okay, I know right now I'm not getting my full range of motion. Between when I'm waiting on the next hole, I'm going to do a couple of swing. I'm going to do a couple swings where I'm really focusing on my shoulder turn, and I'm going to step up and hit my drive. Another piece is your sequencing, right? So sequencing is essentially your loading up. So making sure that we get nice and loaded up as we go up to the top. So we're getting a lot of pressure in our trail foot. We're not staying on our lead foot. We're loading up onto our trail foot, and then we're getting that good weight shift to our lead side. We're not staying back and swinging off our back foot. We're getting that good weight shift to our lead side, and we're getting a lot of pressure and rotating the body open. That's part of sequencing. Another part of sequencing is you're getting some lag. So if you're casting the club, right, that's going to be a distance leak. And if you are generating some lag, you're going to get more speed if you do that. And then we talk about the release of that speed. So having all this lag is great, but if you don't release it, it's not going to do you any good. If you go through contact like this and kind of drag the handle through, you're not going to have a lot of speed. So we need to release that speed to get basically release that club to get as much speed as possible. So that's the sequencing part. The last part is what I would actually call the secret weapon to this, and one that a lot of people don't talk about or even know about. I know I didn't really know about this up until a few years ago. I guess I kind of knew about it, but I didn't know the science behind it because I always did it and didn't really realize I was doing it. But that's basically something that's called neural adaptation. And in short terms, basically that means that you're swinging as hard as you possibly can. You're swinging with 100% effort. That's when you're speed training, not when you're out on the course, but when you're speed training. So when you're speed training and you swing with 100% effort, you are recruiting the muscles that move the fastest. And your body is going to get more and more used to doing that. So your speed is going to go up. So just to give you an example, I've done some speed training recently. I just did some speed training yesterday and got my new high speed. I got up to 126 miles per hour is my new high speed now. Before yesterday, it was 124. But I was out playing around doing some speed training, and I got up to 126 miles per hour. So a while back, last year, I went through basically all the 20-minute distance fix stuff, worked on increasing my range of motion and doing better sequencing, and worked on basically swinging with 100% effort as I went through all the training. And my 100% effort swing at that time went up to 124. Recently, yesterday, it went up to 126. And that's my all out, everything I got. I'm swinging out of my shoes kind of swing. My playing speed swing right now is somewhere around 118, 119. So I started out, I was about 108, 110 was my playing speed swing. So I'm gotten up to where I'm about 119 is my playing speed swing, maybe 120 if I get into one. As my playing speed swing. That's why I'm using it out on the course. But my as hard as I can, everything I got, all effort swing is 126 miles per hour. That's not the way I would swing out on the course, unless I was playing in a scramble or something like that, and I just wanted to try to hit one as hard as I possibly could. But when I'm out there, I'm trying to get the ball in the fairway and get down there as much as I can. I'm going to be around 119 with my club head speed. So that's basically what the neural adaptation part of it is that I'm swinging it as hard as I can. So it's becoming my new normal as I go through it. So that's what I'd recommend doing. And I'd recommend using a device to do that. We actually have a device that we are really, really excited to be talking about. It's a PRGR. We used to recommend the Swing Caddy 2, but unfortunately they don't make that device anymore. In the Swing Caddy 2 Plus and the Swing Caddy 300, they changed the algorithms, and I just don't think it gives accurate numbers anymore. And I think and we found a device. We did a lot of research and looking, and we found this device is called a PRGR. This is actually kind of the box. The black one is the American version. This is actually a Japanese, I think, version that we got that I use. It's one that they gave us to demo, but it's the same device. It's just in Japanese. As you can see, it's got Japanese on there, so I think it's Japanese anyway. I could be wrong about that, but anyway, yeah. So we're basically touting that device, saying it's the most. It's actually more accurate than the SC200 device, and it's less expensive. It's $195. So I would recommend that if you want to check it out. I'll post a link in there so you can go check it out. But it's really, really important to have a measuring device so that you can get some feedback. And what the cool part about this is that with the PRGR, and I'm just going to put this in the comments here, so you can click the link if you want to check it out. You should be able to. Yeah, so you should be able to see it showed up on there now. If you're watching this video later, you may not be able to see the link below if you're watching this as an archived. But yeah, it's the cool part about this device is that you can swing without a golf ball as well. This SC200, you had to hit a golf ball. So with this one, you can do it without a golf ball, and it'll pick it up. It'll pick up your swing speed there as well. So if I know a lot of us are at home and not able to go outside or go to the golf course. Golf course is closed. Maybe we don't have a net and mat set up in our house, but maybe we can go out in the backyard or in our garage and take some swings, but not hit anything. Well, this PRGR will pick that up if you want to do some speed training like that. So I'd recommend getting a device and working through the 20-minute distance fix. We do plan on coming out with some videos here soon for some modifications, essentially, to where you can work through the 20-minute distance fix at home and not have to go to the range. Basically, there are some indoor drills that you do in the 20-minute distance fix, so that wouldn't change, but just some ways that you can do the other drills indoors. So be on the lookout soon for those. Probably in the next few weeks, we'll have some great videos, some great content out on that. All right. So David W says, "Hey Q, can't full swing in my condo, so I decided to concentrate on setup and getting the important positions in the swing. For example, from first parallel to the top. Should I do full speed, half speed, slow mo? Any tips on what positions to work on and what is important to each position?" David W, you can work through the entire Top Speed Golf system. Those are the positions that are important. So what I'd be focusing on is your stable fluid spine, making sure you're angled the way I address. You stay nice and stable as you go up to the top. Now, if you can't really do like a full swing in your house, I would go really slow. I would use something like you can use a TV remote, but this is also an impact snap. Also, a full disclosure on the PRGR. We do an affiliate deal with them. You get a little bit of discount on the device. We get a little bit of a kickback from them. Just want to go full disclosure on that. It's not a lot. Trust me, we have tons and tons of Clay's got garages full of crap that people send us, and I'm not even exaggerating when I say crap. Most of it is crap. We could do an affiliate deal with basically everyone, but we don't. So we only do it with the devices that we think are really great. We could have done another affiliate deal with Swing Caddy, and probably made a ton of money off of that. But it's not as good as it used to be. They didn't upgrade it. It's actually worse, or not. The SC200 is a great device. I shouldn't use that word. It's not necessarily worse. It's just not as good. It's not even as good as the previous model. It should be better, right? So we decided not to do anything with them, and this PRGR actually turned out to be better because we found this PRGR, and it's actually a little bit better of a device for a little bit lesser price. So that's much better for you all, our members, who aren't going to have to open up their pocketbooks as much. They can get a device that's actually a little bit cheaper and works just as good, or actually a little bit better than the previous one. All right, so the reason why I said that is because the Impact Snap here, this is another training aid that I think is great. This is another training aid that we have an affiliate deal with. We don't have a ton of affiliate deals, just with the devices that we think are great. I think that this device is particularly great, especially right now, because as you can see, it's just this. Like, I don't have a very big office. This office is 10 feet. I think I maybe have 9 feet, 8 or 9 feet going that way. I've got a desk, a fridge, and this glass board back here. I can't take a full swing in here. No way I can do that. But I can with this Impact Snap. Let me get my video back here. With this Impact Snap device here, I can take full swings in it. I can also, I don't know if I have it handy here, but sometimes what I use, oh, here it is. So I have a little TV up here in the corner, so I can turn on the Masters if it's ever on, and I can just hold on to this. You can do this with your TV remote and pretend like it's a golf club and practice the positions. So practice your stable fluid spine, going up to the top and coming into contact. Practice your power turn, going up to the top, getting that full shoulder turn, and coming around and getting that full shoulder turn all the way through. You can practice lag, right? So going up to the top, doing the same drills, getting that butt, you do the stick behind the ball drill, and practice getting that butt end of my TV remote pointing as far behind where the golf ball would be as I can, and then releasing that club out in front, going into the full finish. I can work on my compression line, making sure that's in good order. I can work on my release, making sure that's good. I can be working on the move. There's all kinds of things that you can work on in your house, especially if you don't have space. So the Impact Snap, if you go to impactsnap.com, you can get one of these. This is great. You can fit it in your golf bag. You put it in your luggage. If you go somewhere, you can just keep it in your office like I do. And I do some swings every now and then when I get bored in my office, or when I need a little, I'm never bored. Whenever I need a little break, basically from working, I'll get this out and I'll do some swings with it. The way that this works and the why it kind of looks like this, if you're not familiar with what this is, basically this is to help you feel that proper impact position. So if I'm coming into contact, this little ball that's got this arm on it, and this ball should be basically on the back of my arm right there. So if I'm coming through contact and I'm flipping, see where that ball is? It's outside my arm, right? If I'm coming in, a lot of times what I do is I try to exaggerate things as much as possible. So I'll come into contact and I'll try to get this ball to be going outside of my arm right here, because look how much forward shaft lean I have when I do that. And that means that you're squaring up the face as well. Because I can come into contact with forward shaft lean here, but look, from this angle, you can see, it's hard to see, it's a little bit hard to see, but you can see that that ball is right here. It's not touching my arm. So if I square the face, now look, it's touching my arm, and I have that forward shaft lean. So it's a great device to help you feel what that proper impact position is as you're coming through contact. And it's also got this slider thing in it. I think that's why it's called the Impact Snap, because you can get it and then you can kind of feel that release out in front. So you want to get that club to get it to release out in front, get that to snap out here, out in front, and you want to feel this ball on your arm as you're doing that. So here, and then I get it to where it's on my arm around where impact is, and then the straight line release is going to come off my arm a little bit right there. But you're going to get that snap right there. So this is a really great device to work on indoors. So if you go to impactsnap.com, at the checkout page, use promo code CBallard. I haven't been to their website recently since this whole pandemic thing has been going on. Hopefully they have them in stock. So there isn't any issues there, but there's a possibility that some people may be getting the same idea and wanting to get these impact snaps so they can work on their golf game at home when they have to stay there. But that's a great training aid to use. But yeah, I'd be working through the Top Speed Golf system. You can do all of it. Like I said, you can do, it'd be tough to do the 20-minute distance fix if you can't actually swing a club, if you don't have enough space to do that. But as far as the positions and things like that, the Top Speed Golf system is what you want to work on. All right. Excuse me. So Chris S. asks, working on stable fluid spine, level 1. I'm about 1,000 reps in. I failed the hip rotation test. Thanks, Clay, for your help with this. My question when I'm doing this drill properly, how far into, I guess it cut off. So Chris, your question cut off there. So if you wouldn't mind posting your question on there if you got it. All right, so let's go up to Lee P while Chris is getting his question on there. So Lee P says, back to the sand. Excuse me. On the follow through, should you try to keep the club face open or allow your hands to turn over? Is on a normal shot from the fairway. Excuse me. It really just depends on what's happening. So if you're having trouble coming through contact with the face, with holding the face open, then it might be a better feeling to feel like the club is pointing up to the sky throughout the swing. But if you don't have any issue with that, then you don't need to feel like you're doing that. Excuse me. I got a frog in my throat. So yeah, if you're having trouble with getting the club to kind of thump the sand, and you're kind of pulling your bunker shots, you're closing the face too much, and you're coming in and you're kind of rolling the hands over a little bit, then it would be a great feeling to feel like the palm of your hand is the palm of your trail hand staying pointed up to the sky, because that's going to ensure that you're coming down and you're thumping the sand and you're getting the club to glide through the sand. You're not rolling the face over and getting that leading edge to come down. But if you're not having issue with that, then it's not really something I would really worry about. But if you're kind of digging into the sand, you're kind of pulling your bunker shots or maybe the club's digging in and the ball's not coming out, then yeah, I would give that's a very good feeling to have, to allow the club to kind of glide through the sand, trying to feel like your palm is pointing up to the sky. If you feel it, basically your trail palm is acting as part of the club face. So if you watch here, if I keep my palm pointing up to the sky, my club face, you can't really see it, but my club face is also pointing up to the sky. All right. So doesn't look like Chris got his question on there. When I'm doing the drill properly, how far into? Yeah, I'm not really sure where he was going with that. So yeah, if you got your question, if you're interested in the PRGR, and like I said, full disclosure, we do get a kickback from the Impact Snap. It's not much. If you use our promo code CBallard, I believe you get 10% off. So you can do that as well. All right, so we got about 5 minutes left. You got any questions? Go ahead and post them on there. If not, we'll go ahead and wrap it up for today. If you're just jumping on here, I'm just waiting for a question to be asked. Let me reload my page here and make sure there's not questions that have been asked. Every now and then it'll time out and it won't show them. Nope. Refreshed it. Still no questions. All right. Let me scroll down and see if there was anything that was posted before that I missed. All right. So we talked about the chipping yips. All right. So Phil J says, hi Q, working on driver club head speed. I noticed when I pull hook, club head speed can go up to 5 to 10 miles per hour, can go up 5 to 10 miles. Can you explain the reason that could happen when you pull hook? I I'm not really sure. I mean, a pull hook is caused by the face being close to the path. It could be that you're swinging a little bit more from the inside, and the club head speed's a little bit faster when you swing just a little bit from the inside, typically. But that's about it. It could also be, I don't know what device that you're using, but a lot of times, that was the other thing about the Swing Caddy, too, that every now and then, especially if using range balls, it wouldn't really measure your club head speed. It would measure the ball speed, and then it would kind of give you a guess, essentially, like an estimate of what your club head speed was. So the reason why I know that is because our driving range, the maximum, typically the maximum smash factor, which is your ratio of your ball speed to your club head speed, usually the maximum you can get is about 1.45 with our range balls. Typically, if you're getting 1.43, you're crushing it, right? 1.45, I think, is the highest I've ever gotten, like legitimately, with one of our range balls. So 1.43 is a very, very, very well struck drive on our range ball. So typically, if you're actually using a real golf ball, 1.5, if you're using like a real high quality golf ball, like a Pro V or a Snell MTB Black, or basically any golf ball that you would actually use on the golf course, that's a high quality golf ball, which is, most of them out there. 80% of the balls that you buy at a store you're gonna get this with, is going to be about 1.5 is the best that you can get typically. So so every now and then it would tell me that I got a 1.5 smash factor, which is baloney, because there's no way I got 1.5. So what happened was that it read my read my ball speed, and then it wasn't sure what my club head speed was. So it has programming in it that says, oh, we're going to say that it was 1.5. And then it spits out a lower club head speed. Because a lot of times I would swing and it would tell me my club head speed was a lot lower than what I know it actually was. Because you're not going to swing 120 on one swing and then try to do basically the exact same thing, but try to swing as hard as you can on the next one. And it's going to go down to 113, 114. That's not what happens. So what it did was, because the Swing Caddy, this is one of the problems with the Swing Caddy as well, is that it will never read an error. It will always give you a number, whether it picked it up or not. So that's basically the way that's programmed. And that's the only really thing I didn't like about the Swing Caddy, is that every now and then it would give you kind of a BS number because it didn't pick it up. So I would much rather the device say error, and just tell me, hey, this was your ball speed, but there was an error on the club head speed. We didn't pick it up, and therefore we're not getting your smash factor or your estimated distance either. I'd much rather see that, but I imagine it was kind of a business decision on their part. They didn't want a bunch of people saying, hey, this thing gives me errors sometimes. But what people don't realize, people who are buying these devices, most of them have never worked with actual launch monitors and radars before. And even like $18,000 and $20,000 devices, they have errors. Like we use FlightScope, it has errors all the time. TrackMan, I've used TrackMan, and it will not calculate the numbers sometimes. GC Quad, same thing. It will not pick up the numbers sometimes. So these devices are not perfect. They're not going to give you perfect numbers, but if people who don't realize that will most likely return the device not knowing that. So I think that's part of the reason why the Mevo, the FlightScope Mevo, didn't really take off probably the way that they thought it would, because if it didn't read it, it would say error, or that it didn't read the number, just like it does with their higher end devices. And people would say this thing doesn't read sometimes, so it's junk. When the reality is that they all don't read sometimes, but the Swing Caddy gives you kind of a BS number. Now if you're hitting a real golf ball, that BS number is probably not going to be that far off. But when you're hitting a range ball or a limited flight ball, especially if it's an extreme limited flight ball, that number is going to be way off, because it's expecting you to be hitting a real golf ball. But anyway, I saw there was a couple questions. So Jim S says, "What is the new launch monitor that Clay was talking about?" Jim, if you look in the comments there, it's the PRGR. I put a link right there where you can find it. This isn't exactly what it looks pretty much like this, except it's black. This is the Japanese version that I got of it last year when they gave us a demo of this, and it's the same device. It's just in Japanese instead of English. The numbers on it are obviously English numbers, but anyway, yeah, that's what it looks like. Very, very good device. It's kind of a side profile. That's actually kind of like a real size of it. It's very small. I could put it in my pocket. Fits right in your bag. Really, really easy to use. You just push the on button and set it behind the golf ball about club length. You're good to go. Very, very easy to use and very accurate. It was basically within like 1 to 2% of our really, really expensive launch monitors, like $18,000 launch monitors, was within 1 to 2% on the club head speed and the ball speed numbers. So really, really good device. Highly recommend it. It's also less expensive than a lot of ones out there. If you follow that link below, it's I believe it's $195 is the price. It's something like that. So if you follow that link, and again, full disclosure, we do get a kickback from that. So it's not a lot, but it is something. All right. So man, it looks like we got a bunch. So I'll answer all these last ones here, and then that we got in the last minute. But then we will wrap it up. So Ed D says, "Can you please demo the turning of the push of the left foot, release of the club? I'm feeling like I load into the ground through the backswing, an initial downswing, then push up, but I'm unclear when to start extending the hips toward the target." So you need to have a lateral shift in the very last part of the backswing. So you're going to have that lateral shift, very last part of the backswing, and then from there you are pushing into the ground to rotate your hips open. That's what you're feeling like. If you want a great drill to kind of work on that, and sorry, I'm not going into full depth because we already passed the time here. But if you want a great drill to work on that, just search the word release legs on the website. There's a great drill. I believe it's in the straight line release course or the compression line course, where Clay talks about releasing the club, using the legs to kind of drive and release the club. So I recommend checking that out. Just search the word release legs, 2 words. Upper right-hand corner of the screen, you can search release legs, or if you're on a mobile device, click the icon in the upper right-hand corner. There's 3 horizontal lines. That will expand a menu. Scroll down the menu, you'll see that there. David W. says, "What do you think about the Mevo? Do you think we amateurs can make use of the additional parameters?" I would go with the PRGR, in my opinion. The Mevo, I'm not a big fan of it. It does give you accurate numbers for the most part when it does give you numbers, but sometimes it does give you errors. You also have to connect it to your phone, which I think is a pain in the butt. This has a screen on it. You just set it down and you use it. It's so easy, and it gives you stuff that you can't actually see. So you're not going to know spin numbers. Obviously, you can't tell how much a ball is spinning. I mean, usually when I hit a ball, I can tell if it's kind of spinny or not, just based on how it feels and the way it flies. But I can't look at a ball and be like, "That's 8,000 spin." I don't really have those kind of capabilities. But I will say with the Mevo, you have to use a metallic dot on the golf ball to be able to give you accurate numbers. And it's just a pain in the butt. I'm not going to buy all these dots, put it on every single golf ball before I hit it, and hope that it reads it. Like it's just a pain in the butt. So that doesn't really do you any good. And then the launch, you don't need something to tell you that you're launching it too high or too low. You can look at your ball flight and see, oh, it launched too high or it launched too low. That's something you can easily visually see. So in my opinion, no, I don't think that the additional parameters are going to help you. At $500 and a pain in the butt to use, I would rather have this PRGR because club head speed's the main thing that I would be working on if I was looking for feedback on something. And this is what gives you that, and it gives you that for about $200. So or $195. So this is what I would recommend to use. And it's right. It's so easy to use. It's really, really simple. So a couple more questions here one from John M. So John M says, when I do the move, sometimes I hit it great, and occasionally I top the ball. Am I coming too from the inside? It's possible you could be, because when you swing too much from the inside, your club will bottom out sooner. So if I angle this down, you'll see my club is actually bottoming out more like back here. And when that happens, the club will bottom out back in this area, and then it's going to be on its way up when it gets to the golf ball. So that could be why you're topping it. So you're either over shallowing the club, so getting the club way too shallow, or you're not rotating. You're coming down here, you're just shallowing the club, and you're not rotating the body. You're swinging too much from the inside. But watch, if I shallow the club and I rotate, now that club's coming down on plane. So I would look at your swing on video and see if you're rotating. If you're not rotating, then you're probably not doing the second part of the move, which is the turning of the handle down, because you're probably trying to save it by flipping at the ball instead of turning that handle and rotating into contact. So that's what I'd be looking at. Look at your swing on video, see what's going on there. And again, I do have swing review spots open. So if you're interested in working with me, click get a review at the top of the screen. I can tell you exactly what's going on, but that's just a guess based on the info. All right. So thanks everybody for joining me. I'll be back here tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Everybody have a good rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time.